But whenever someone asks me about something about achievements or what do I like best about what I've done in my life, I actually always come back to what I'm doing now, which is teaching. And I didn't always teach. I used to be in a different career. For about 20 years or so before I became a teacher, I had a totally different career. And I was in the wine business, I was in marketing and public relations and sales. And it was a great job. I got to travel all over the country. But at some point I decided I wanted to do something different, and I did 180, so to speak. Went back to school, got my teaching credential, and I've never looked back. I've never wanted to do anything else after that. So I would say that I'm proud that I actually took the chance to make a change in my life, and now I'm really grateful that I did that. Okay, I've told this story before to some of my students. I always think about this one. I have a fear of heights, and I can tell you the exact moment I got that fear of heights. It was when I climbed to the top of Half Dome in Yosemite. How many of you have ever been there? Probably. Well, I think we talked about this in my class. I climbed to the top of the mountain. It was really scary getting up there. I didn't want to go. In fact, I tried to turn around, but the people that were hiking with me got behind me and wouldn't let me turn around. They forced me to go up that mountain. So I went to the top of the mountain, and once I got up there, of course, it was beautiful. I was happy I was there. I started walking around. I was looking around up in the sky. It was so pretty. Walking, not worrying, looking where I was going, and all of a sudden I stopped and I almost walked off the edge of the cliff. That would have been a nice little 4,000-foot drop. That was the moment that I developed my fear of heights, and after that I was really afraid to go up anywhere high. Several years later, I was up in the mountains in Colorado, and there was a ski lift. It was in the middle of summer, but there was a ski lift running to go to the top of the mountain, 12,000 feet. And I was scared to death to go up to the top of that mountain, but I wanted to see what it looked like looking back down from the top of the mountain at 12,000 feet. So I psyched myself up. I spent about 2 days thinking about it, got into that little gondola, that little tight little ski lift. I also have claustrophobia, so that wasn't fun. Got in that little pod and went up the mountain, and I was scared to death the whole time. But once I got up there, I realized it was worth that fear, because once I got up and looked back down at that beautiful, beautiful sight, it was worth every bit of fear that I had going up. Really, my parents both had really hard childhoods growing up. My dad, he didn't really have a dad around. His dad left when he was pretty young. In fact, his brother was only 2 years old and never even met his dad after that. So, my dad really had a hard time growing up. His grandparents took care of him most of the time, even though he had a mom. She died really young too. My dad was 15 when his mom died. So he really had to struggle to make it in life when he was young. And my mom also had to really struggle. They both grew up in the Depression back in the 1920s and 30s. And my mom really had to struggle also. And so neither one of them were able to get a college education. But they were really, really intelligent, and they were self-educated. So my parents they got a good education in high school. They each went to a little bit of college but did not finish. But they were very motivated to learn. So they were self-educated. They read a lot of books. They wanted to learn everything they could. And so even though they weren't able to have those opportunities, they wanted to make sure that their kids did. So that's why they really worked hard to give us a good education. They worked hard to make sure that we were doing well in school, which we all my sisters and I all did, all three of us. And I have to just really admire them for what they struggled through in their childhood, and then what they tried to give us because they didn't have it. And I felt that that was really heroic of them to live that life the way they did. The last day before spring break, when we had career day, and I ended up being a presenter at the last minute because somebody canceled. I was talking that day to the kids that were in my class for those two presentations, and one of the things that I thought about that day when we were talking about different careers and what you had to, what kind of education you needed to have. The one idea that popped into my head was that you never know what you're going to want. You might have ideas now what you want to do. You might have ideas in college about what you want to do, but you might change your mind like I did. And if you don't have as much education as you can get when you're young, and you decide to do something different when you're older and you don't have the education required, you might be really disappointed. And one of the things I told my kids was get as much education as you can while you can, because if you find yourself at 30 or 40 or even 50 and you decide, hey, I really want to be a teacher, or I really want to be a lawyer, or I want to be this, and you didn't get your education when you were younger, you might not have the time or the money or the energy to do it then. So it gives you much more opportunity in life. It leaves your choices wide open if you have all the education you can get when you are young.
Hi, my name is Alexa.
Hi, my name is Gwen.
Hi, my name is Golden.
Hi, my name is Max.
Hi, my name is Freya.